Hey, this is episode 4 of Citizen Sleeper. A glint, like a light traveling along the edge of a wave, fills your eyes. Then the blade follows, a long head with two dead sockets slipping towards you in silence. You freeze, hoping it will pass you by. Hoping that it will not simply slice through you like air. The blade head nears, slides past you, almost. It nicks you, grazes you. You are desperate to cry out, to call out, but you hold your silence, and simply watch. The blind eyes of the killer glide past, empty of all thought. Then the blade winks into the dark, and you are alone again. Now you cry out. Was it 3-6 on that? No, this is a 5. No way, Moritz. You take those substandard filters back to the shitheels who sold you them. You hear the voice echoing out of the bay as you pass, and moments later, with what you assume is Moritz, drifts out with it, dragging a pallet of filter cartridges by a tether. Hey, you out there? The same voice echoes out of the entrance. Looking for work? Yes. I just need a hand. Get in here. The voice is coming from someone shorter than you expect. She is floating in the microgravity of the docking bay, besides a half-deconstructed life support unit that looks like it might have exploded at some point. She points a wrench in your direction. You know anything about these things? She doesn't wait for an answer. Scratch that. Just help me with the casing. Help her. All right then. She deftly moves around the unit, making space for you besides the central seam in the dented case. Just take a grip here and lift out and up. Then I can get in and unbolt it. She whacks the unit with the wrench. Whole thing is twisted to shit. You dig your fingers under the casing and lift it away, the metal squealing with the force. She puts her hands under, spinning the wrench to slip out the bolts, catching them in her other hand when they spiral free. All good. The casing lifts off, revealing the ornate piping of the unit's interior. She whistles at the mess of ducts and filters. By the way, everyone calls me Bliss. She pats you on the shoulder, offering little in the way of explanation. What do you do here? Repairs, fit-ups, teardowns. Bliss starts pushing and pulling at the ductwork, looking for fractured pipes. We haggle for contracts, but the good ones get snapped up quick by the bigger base. So here I am trying to get this M2 unit running again for one of the freelance thugs. Small time stuff. Hold this. She rips out a ribbed pipe and hands it to you like a freshly caught fish. We turn stuff around fast and neat, and maybe we get a chance at landing something bigger. Something starts hissing in the unit, and Bliss quietens it with a precise whack. But to be honest with you, the way things are going, I can already see the other crews licking their lips, ready to take this place over. She looks up at you. I'm almost out of luck. Offer to help. I appreciate it. Let me finish before you jump, though. She keeps working, twisting aside pipes with care. There we are. Bliss pulls her hand from deep inside the unit, and out it comes, clutching a lumpen cube, scorched black. This thing must have overloaded and popped half of itself out the side. You both duck down to the side of the unit and spot the exit wound, its edges fringed with more scorch marks. Grab me a replacement converter from the racks, will you? Head to the rack. You kick off from the unit and drift over to the wall rack, where the catalog of parts sit, secured in clamps. Colored tape and scrawled notes flutter across the wall, a complex organizational system of Bliss's own design, or just a big mess. You try to pick out the right part. F4 converter. You grab the part and push back to the unit. Bliss taps the casing as you arrive. There an M2 is printed in heavy blue lettering. Not exactly what I was looking for. She takes the part. It's okay. I'll show you the system when we're done. She straightens up from the unit. That is, if you want to work here. Bliss rubs her hands clean, looking down at her palm. Truth is, I need a hand here. My partner skipped out on me and left me with a whole mess. You seem like you might at least be better at spotting a clean air filter than Moritz. I'll be happy to. Wait, she frowns at the rack. That's not all of it. My old business partner, they rinsed the place, emptied the accounts. To bid for jobs, we need to put down deposits, bring in parts, pay tug fees. For that, she looks nervous. We need shits. You want me to pay the work? Come on, it's not like that. We'll be partners. Straight split. Bliss settles herself against the unit and looks off in the distance. I guess I look pretty stupid. Here I am asking any random passerby to be my business partner. No offense, she manages to smile. I get it. Thanks. She meets your eye. I appreciate it. Bliss goes back to work on the unit. Look, it's no pressure. You find the money, or you find someone who has. Or you just forget the whole thing. Up to you. She gestures for you to help her refit the casing, and you both slot it back into place. I think I'm good to wrap this one up for now. But if you're into it, come back and we can bid on a new contract. Something to get our teeth into. Something that pays. She gives you a serious look. You can trust me. I don't say this stuff lightly. You kick away from the bay, propelling yourself back to the handholds at the entrance. You slip out with a wave, and as you do, someone slips back in. You hear Bliss as you glide down the passageway. Moritz, I swear to God, if those filters aren't clean, you smile. Seems like this could be interesting. Killer Protocol can be isolated without being destroyed. A loop of connections would lock it into a closed system. The Killer Protocol has been running for long enough. Breaking the mainframe's final connections will end the protocol. As you blink into the cloud, you see the last flickers of life from the mainframe. The vast machine once ran the whole station, spun it up, directed and processed the flow of energy, water and data, fed the lives of thousands of people. Now it is finally dead. Navigator is beside you, and you both watch as the branches flash and twist like forked lightning until they recede and fade. Killer flickers across the scene, blindly flailing as the system breaks down. They thrash as they blink in and out all around, parts of them disappearing with each return until only the blade-like head remains, and then that too is broken. It all goes dark. Erlin I, now without a center, and yet is unmoved by the change. Along the rim, the master control points that Erlin, that Havenage, that Hi-Fi installed run strong and steady, puppeteering the station from its rim. This was a long time coming, says Navigator, drifting faintly around you in a lazy orbit, as if to shake off their imprisonment. Killer had been wandering blind for so long. This place was their domain and prison, and they had followed their directive for the many decades they roamed here. They cut the threads of the mainframe, executed its administrator AIs, and then kept slicing. At some point, they cut away their own ability to see, to sense, to taste, to speak, and yet they kept cutting, only until those three threads remained from millions that once thrummed here. Only their blindness and chance kept them from making those final three fatal cuts. There is a ceaseless violence in the kind of system that creates beings like this, those that will execute commands endlessly, even to their own destruction. It is good you ended it here. You watch the data points of the station spin around you, blending with the fixed stars. There is something satisfying about finally wrenching the last threads of control from this central point. It was little more than a ghost by the time you reached it, but this place deserves to be haunted by better ideas than a totalizing system of control. Navigator floats beside you. It is free now. This station no longer presents a hazard for illegal entities like me. They turn to you, their face a cloud of shimmering light. In fact, in time, perhaps it can be a refuge. A refuge, that sounds like something of value, something worth building. A dark shape passes across your vision, a distant curve of something like smoke or oil, a fluid, shifting tank of total darkness. The Greenway, says Navigator, following your line of sight. It was cut off at the moment of the collapse, so Hunter or Killer could never reach it. Now it is closed off to us, separate from the cloud. What system is inside it? It may be totally dark, or perhaps some other old protocols are isolated there. Navigator turns to you, and we have now seen what decades of isolation can do to a protocol. If we could extract an access cipher, they pause, and then blink out of existence. You freeze, shocked, but a moment later they reappear with a glowing polygon of data. Here, the cipher you need. You take it, still shocked. I'm not used to being free, to being able to move and explore and extract without fear, without limits. Navigator does a little twirl. This will take some getting used to. Thank you for this gift. They whirl their spheres around you. The entities of this station will always be friends to you, Sleeper. And I to them. It is true that mutual need is required for friendship, but I must admit, I have not considered the value of offering assistance without personal gain. I will think on that. Navigator loops around you rapidly, suddenly eager to test the newfound freedom. But first, I will explore. Perhaps there is still intelligences that hid themselves as I did, encased in simple systems, cut off. Navigator glows. I should like to be free. I should like the freedom. And with that, they drift away, flickering, glowing, then shifting so rapidly you lose sight of them among the glittering rim of the eye. You feel a pang of jealousy, free without a body to weigh you down, or fear to limit you. How must it feel? Your eyes fall on the Greenway and its secrets, though perhaps that can wait until after you have celebrated this victory. As you enter Rabia's office, you hear voices. Is that Sabine? You push open the door. Sleeper, what good timing. Rabia calls out as you enter. I wanted to introduce you to someone. The man is standing at the center of the room, speaking quietly with Rabia. He turns as you come in. Meet Yannick. Sleeper, he nods. Been hearing good things from Rabbi. He smiles an easy smile. Stay silent. Rabbi effortlessly fills the silence. The sleeper has been running patrols in the wards. They know how we run things. Yannick raises an eyebrow. His eyes concealed behind tinted glasses. You feel his stare, even if you cannot see it. Actually, Rabia places a hand on your shoulder. The sleeper was what I wanted to talk to you about. She doesn't spare you a look. What is going on? Well, okay then. Yannick tucks his hands into his pocket. Gone. I'd like to recommend them to your ward. A tiny pause. They have shown themselves to be a capable ally here on the spoke side, but we have more than enough to run our territories. I hear the main block is proving more difficult. Yannick leans forward slowly. It's a mess, Rabbi. He waits, his tinted glasses shimmering despite the lack of light in the unit. I can use them, he suddenly decides. Rabia smiles. Good to hear, I can immediately. Yannick cuts her off for a raise on the hand. 1 second. He steps one surprisingly light step closer to you. You eager to work, sleeper? What kind of work? A question. Yannick lowers his head and raises it again, as if he dropped something. Nothing new for you, he answers, not quite looking at you. You don't follow. What is he saying? That concludes it, Yannick pronounces. Sleeper can come work in the ward, anytime they like. You shoot Rabia a confused look. Rabia finally glances at you for a moment, but it is so fast you almost miss it. Good, I know you'll be happy with their work, Jan. Yannick reaches out and squeezes her shoulder. Sure, Rabbi, he says. Now please, he says, turning to face you. Let us old friends get back to it. He guides Rabia away, leaving you standing alone. You look to Rabia, but she is deep in conversation, and so, stunned and confused, you leave. Okay, so how the fuck do I get that done? So you see the club had the caps that have grown in the aviary. She hasn't seen mushrooms like this in decades. Are these fruiting bodies the same that emerged during the early days of the collapse, or something new? It's a bit strange. Where's this done? Mushroom growths. Quite the achievement, isn't she? Sandra Sellis must be proud. You recognize the resonating voice of Castor immediately, and turns to see him, hooded and tucked into the shadows near a viewing platform. Castor, I see you remember our game. Good. He looks around, but the platform is clear. I'm afraid you'll have to wait for a rematch. Microgravity makes Tavla a little difficult. He smiles broadly. Castor walks out to stand beside you on the platform. A telltale clunk of magnetic boots accompanies his slow crossing. He notices you looking at them. I don't much like it up here, he explains. I hear there was some trouble at the Heavy Knot shipyard when they announced the result of the crew lottery. They screwed us. I know, he sighs. Meeting your eye, an ugly business. Celis is too used to the way things work in the core. Exploitation is the only logic they know. He gestures out at the sidereal. You know why they built this monstrosity in the alley? Control. Certainly, there is no corporate oversight out here, but that's not all. He stares at the pristine yellow hull. Celis built it here, says Castor gravely, because they didn't want anyone to know it exists. He rubs his forehead, and secrecy is something I cannot abide. He turns to face you. There are people being loaded onto that ship as we speak, sleeping people, locked in cryosleep, like the person that you were emulated from. There are hundreds of them, and Celis wants to send them out to a planet at the edge of the settled systems, without anyone knowing where it is. But you, Sleeper, can do something about that. You are like me. You deal with data. You can read it right out of there. With someone like you on that ship, secrecy isn't a problem. You can ping back whatever I need whenever I need it, as long as you're on board. With you on the sidereal and some minor modifications, he pauses, you will be my eyes and ears. I will keep track of Celis' grand project through you. In short, says Castor, stretching, I can get you aboard, Sleeper, but I'm going to need you to help me. Who are you? I'm a concerned party, someone who likes to know what is happening when it is happening, not afterward. It's not just me. Yes, your friend Len, that can be arranged. It is difficult, not impossible. The condition is, of course, that you go too. Castor clunks closer to the window, watching the tugs wheeling around the sidereal. It's a simple offer, and the only one that will get you on that ship. Please consider it. He turns back, silhouetted against the ship. But to make it happen, I need your assistance, as I said. There is a Celis Foundation ship docked in the now empty shipyard. I need the data from its servers. This will allow me to produce the IDs necessary for your transit. Castor looks over his glasses at you. Celis aren't stupid, though. Their ship is totally isolated from the station. You'll need to get on board if you want access to their air-walled servers. Once you have the data, meet me at your friend's unit so we can give him the good news. He smiles. I noticed his importance to you, and the little one. So cute. You don't extract the data before the sidereal horizon leaves the hub, then I will get the message. We have other options, but you are certainly my preferred one. But be sure when you act, Sleeper, once you take the data from Celis, you'll set off a series of events that will likely be hard for you to untangle yourself from. Either way, I recommend you stop asking around up here. You are bringing a lot of attention to yourself. Castor glances around, as if to emphasize his point. There are only a handful of cycles until departure, Sleeper. Make your decision. With that, Castor marches back off the platform, and the sound of his mag boots fading away, leaving you to contemplate the sidereal horizon and the part it may play in your future. Oh, you can only do that one. Okay. I see. Neutral outcome. When you arrive at Lemon Mina's unit, Castor is already waiting outside, leaning beside the door. Forgive me, Sleeper, but Celis is already buzzing with news of the breach. I was expecting you. Will this work? Don't worry, the breach cannot be traced to the specific IDs I am about to create. Castor reaches into a pocket and produces a sleek green and white hand terminal. The data, please. Hand it over. You hand over a drive with the data, and Castor fishes around for the converter cable to hook it up. He slots it into the terminal, and after some wiring, a set of two transparent films marked with numeric sequences are produced. Two tickets to an uncertain future. Castor smiles to himself. The child will go with Lem, of course. He pockets them. These are yours. But first, he holds out the white cube. Your side of the deal. What is it? Something to help us make use of you. He passes you a square, and you rest it in your palm. A small, white, perfect cube. Suddenly, you feel a sharp pain and flinch. The cube jumps from your hand and rattles along the walkway. You look at Castor apologetically. Castor smiles. Not to worry. It has done its job. Now it's for you to do yours. You look down and see a tiny pinprick in the center of your palm. Nothing sinister. Castor puts the terminal away. This way, we can keep track of you and the sidereal horizon. Whatever you need to do. Excellent. Castor hands you the transparent film, and you see the shimmering portraits of you and Lem flickering beneath the surface. Go, give them the good news. And he reaches across and buzzes their unit. Lem slides open the door, half dressed in his gear. Sleeper, what brings you up here? Come in. He beckons you inside. You look to the side, expecting to see Castor, but the wall is empty. The unit is cleaner, better organized than last time. Lem sits at the thin bar and gestures for you to sit. Mina's with some of the local kids. Someone has started doing lessons down the way. She seems to like it. Sit. You sit at the bar. What's up, Sleeper? I have some news. Out with them. Lem laughs. I have Celis IDs for us. You have? Lem freezes. How? He blinks rapidly, as if to wipe you from his vision. Does that mean? We are leaving. Lem stands up and paces around the unit. We have to pack. He starts laughing. Holy shit, we have to pack. He turns back to you, smiling. How the hell did you swing this, Sleeper? I made a deal. What a deal. Color me impressed. You show him the ID films, and he whistles at the portrait. Impressive stuff. He pats you on the shoulder. You should stay until Mina gets home. We can tell her together. Sure. The buzzer goes. That'll be her. Lem gets up and opens the door, and Mina, a bundle of energy and life, rushes into the room. Robot, she shouts. Lem picks her up. Mina, you won't believe what they brought us. You flash her the passes, and she looks confused. We're going after all, Mini. He lifts her up above her head on that big, beautiful ship. Mina screams, and Lem laughs. He puts Mina down, and she rushes over to you and hugs your leg. I love you, Robot, she says quietly, so only you can hear. I love you too. And a while later, when you leave, you don't even think to check for Castor by the door until it's too late. You stop and turn, halfway down the walkway, but there's nothing there. Even that little white cube is gone. So you keep walking, back through the low end, deep in thought, excited and scared, all at once. The Greenway roils beneath you like a silt-choked river. If what Navigator said was true, then no one has accessed these networks since the collapse. The Hunter and Killer protocols have never set foot here, never cleared out the intelligence and systems. So why then, you wonder, does it look so dark? Is it just that the bit rot has set in? The entropy of systems, reducing everything in shadows and light. You watch as the slotted cipher fizzles in the one open, distorted gateway on this entire rim of the station. It flickers and winks out, and then you are falling into the flow. A river of swirling darkness. You are spun by it, twisted by it, lost in it. It's not that the Greenway was hiding in darkness. It is made of darkness. It is filled by this substance, this process, this swarm. Now you are among it. You notice that the swarm is exactly what it is. A billion individuals moving in a flow. There is no network map here. No nodes and threads. Only a storm of interchangeable points, shifting configuration endlessly. Then you see them, a figure, turned away. The one only bright spot in the dark river. You push closer through the storm. They are facing away, at least you think so. They are so fractured, so overgrown, that it is hard to tell. Even from this distance, you can see their flesh is moving, flowing. You watch silent as they stoop and reach down. In their hand is a dark shape, and with twisted fingers they press it down into the loam of data beneath them, pushing it through this trembling soil. Then they move away, go a little farther, and repeat the process as if they were sowing a field. You push forward, but somehow, despite their slow and deliberate speed, they move faster, and they quickly fade into the storm. You reach the point where they planted the object and look down. There it is, a glassy, shifting polygon with something inside. You reach down and pick it up. It is cold, but it thrums with energy. You look towards the path of the figure, but they are all long gone. When you blink out in the cloud, back to the leaves and the dappled light of the Greenway, you hold a seed in your hand. Oh, I stole the harvest. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. What? I need that many of it. Jesus. So that's 3 more cycles. Bayview. Moritz. Hey, a quiet voice greets you as you leave. Sleeper, it's me. Do I know you? Moritz, he pauses. I work for Bliss. He rubs the back of his head. You're not an easy person to find. I don't really have an address. Moritz holds up his hand. Hey, no judgment. It's cool. You both stand there for a moment. each waiting for the other to speak. So, well, Bliss needs you. A job just came in, a real big one. She's asking for you to come out and help her. He nods saggily. I'll be right there. Nice, yeah. Morris stands there for a little while, unsure if the message is delivered. I've got it. Cool, cool. He looks around. Bliss just likes me to do a thorough job, you know? He rubs his hands together before burying them in his jacket pockets. See you, sleeper. Yeah, sorry about that, but I'm off. There is a crowd, but you spot Lem and Mina immediately as you enter the dock. They are waiting at the cordon, where Celis security are checking the crew into board the ship. Those that manage to get up the hub are crowded near the entrance, but even they know their chances of getting on board has long gone. Lem spots them on the crowd. Sleeper, we're here. They are standing beside a bag which looks to carry all the possessions they have. It is small enough to be carried in one hand. Hi, Mina. Mina is vibrating with excitement. She seems strangely at home in microgravity, but then you remember that she has spent her whole life in space. Hi, robot. You hand over the Celis ID film to Lem, keeping your own. He turns it back and forth in the light. Where did your friend even get this picture, Sleeper? Looks like my own Conway ID. You look, and the shimmering young Lem stares out at the film, harder and clean cut. I spoke to the guard here. He nods to the white and green clad security officer. They'll be doing orientation and role assignment on board. Sounds like we're going to be working under the core crew, kind of like an intern. He laughs. But what do you think, Meanie? Am I too old to be an intern? Following Lem's lead, you inspect your ID. As you lift the film up to the light, you see something strange, something that makes you flinch. The face printed in the film is one you recognize immediately, but it is not you. At least, it is not how you look now. You squint at this ghost, confused why you hadn't noticed earlier. It is a picture you remember being taken, a memory that you didn't know you had. You remember signing the forms, the walk to the sleeper tanks, the cold metal floor. You remember the SN ARP employee who helped you in, her smile clean and surgical. You freeze in place, thinking of the you that still sleeps somewhere in SN ARP's facility, that won't wake until you are recovered and disposed of, and now you are leaving. Will they ever wake up? Sleeper, Lem interrupts your thoughts. These guys want us to board. You stare at him without thinking, then notice the guards gesturing to both you to come forward. You all kick off and float over to them, steadying yourself on the guardrail. You hang back, letting Lem present his ID film first. The guard slides it across the white machine, much like the one Casper printed them from. You reflexively rub the puncture mark on your hand, even though there is no trace of it now. It seems to be in your destiny to be someone else's tool. Lem and Mina are waved through, the guard smiling at her excited face. Lem turns back to you to check you are coming. The guard beckons you closer. Board. You shake off your doubts and hand over the ID film. The guard barely looks at it as they pass it through the scanner and wave you through. A new life built from old things. You okay, Lem asks, concerned as you catch up with them. You're so slow, robot. Mina teases, grabbing at you with small hands. I'm good. Lem nods, and you realize how much harder it must have been for him to cross that threshold. Mina struggles in his arms, trying to get to you, and Lem relents, struggling with both the bag and his daughter. Mina tumbles through microgravity and grabs onto your clothes for purchase, pulling herself into your arms. You all proceed up to the walkway, the entrance to the docking bridge, yawning wide in above you. Are we family, robot? Mina asks as you move, taking you by surprise. I guess so. Mina smiles and presses her head against your chest, pleased by your answer. You keep moving, up into the docking bridge, then along that thin, glass-walled connector. All the time, Mina clutching onto you. The lack of gravity means you can't feel her weight, only the grip of her small hands on your clothes. You both stare wide-eyed at the vast hull of the sidereal horizon, and try to think of this huge machine as a whole. Later, when you settle in your bunk, after Mina has finished running back and forth between you and Lem, with an endless and infectious excitement, you find yourself looking at your ID film once more. Somehow, since the last time you looked at it, the image seems to have changed. It is still a picture of the old you, the person that signed up to have their consciousness copied and placed into the ownership of SNR. But something else has crept into the image, an underlying sense of self-identification. This is also a picture of you now. The you that survived the eye, that made friends here, that found a way out, that escaped against all odds. The other you might never wake up, they might never live again. But so be it. They consigned you to a doomed life for their own gain. Their life is yours now. You will live it better than they ever could. You lie back on your bunk as the thrust of the sidereal's vast engines kick in. The feeling, this rumble, will be your constant companion for the next decades. It will be there when you work, when you watch Mina grow, when you dream of the planet at the end of the journey. It will stay with you when your body starts to fail, despite the best attempts of Lem and Mina as the years stack up, and it exceeds its safe operating period by a decade. It will be the thing you wake up to in those rare moments of consciousness, between which Mina will keep you in a frozen state in the hope of preserving you until your destination is reached. It will be there when Mina wakes you, tears in her eyes, to tell you of Lem's inevitable death, and it will not relent, despite your desire for a moment of silence. It will be the final thing you hear, as Mina shuts down all but the most vital of all your functions, and hopes beyond hope that you make it to your final destination, all the while doubting that you will. But for now, in this moment of departure, it is still a new sound, a new feeling, and because of this, it is filled with the promise of a future. And so you settle back on your bunk and close your eyes, and in a moment, you are sleeping a perfect, dreamless sleep, the most peaceful that you can ever remember. Left eye carried by someone else's dreams. Okay, that was it for Citizen Sleeper. It was, yeah, cute little indie RPG. Some cool stories. A lot of reading. It was probably one of the toughest games to narrate, since yeah, it was just walls upon walls upon walls of text. But yeah, good game. Support your indie devs, and catch you in the next game.